Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Back to 12 podcast. I'm RC Maxfield. That man is, well, Lyle Leong. And right now, Lyle, it's official. You're just behind the guy on the TD list at Texas Tech that just got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and Michael Crabtree. How does that feel?
I just sent a letter into the, college football Hall of Fame to let them know I should be on next year's ballot
Sure.
after my man Crab. But in all seriousness, no, man, I was happy to see for my brother, man. He deserves it. Worked hard, did something that hadn't been done before, and winning back to back. Like we talked about off the podcast, like I don't know what took so long either. But he got in. It was cool to see. I didn't even know. I saw it on Instagram Live. I was like, man, what is this dude never goes live? Let me see what he's talking about. And so I saw him all the awards, and I didn't even know. So shout out to him. I got to get him on this podcast, man. We got to get him on here talk about it. But shout out to my brother, man. He deserves it, and I couldn't be happier for him, man.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Lyle and maybe some of the stories he has with Crabtree. As
Yeah.
long as we don't bring up that stupid Crabtree Soldier Boy song, I think this podcast will go absolutely phenomenal.
Oh my
But it was
gosh.
the craze. I get it. Everybody makes mistakes, but here we are. We'll also talk about Texas Tech men's basketball. But before we get into it, just simply like the video if you're watching on YouTube. That's all we ask. The subscriber count steady going up. We appreciate y'all, but just like the video and let us have some love right there. But Lyle, there's a lot to talk about. We'll start just slowly talking about the Texas Bowl, right? Texas Tech is going to the Texas Bowl. Should have been the Cheez-It Bowl, but don't get me started on that front. Your overall thoughts of going to the Texas Bowl in terms of what it means for the program, what it could potentially mean for the program, and just really having some of these guys come back to the program. And we'll talk a little bit more about those guys here in a minute. But overall, just your overall thoughts for the Texas Bowl for Texas Tech.
Man, I think a little differently, about bowls, simply because, getting blessed and lucky enough to get to play in those bowl games. I think a totally different on how these bowl games go, because as players, of course, you want to go to the best bowl that they say is the best bowl that you can go to. But as a player, you also want to go to the bowls that's going to take care of you. I played in, the Cotton Bowl and the Alamo Bowl, where they gave us Xboxes, food, took care of us, money, and also played in the Gator Bowl, where they gave us a sweatsuit and a watch. And then when I coached at West Virginia, we went to the Liberty Bowl, and they literally gave us a speaker. And I'm like, really? So I think for the kids, it's what they get out of those bowls makes it different. And I think on the other side, as far as what I think about it is they're gonna put bowls where they think they're gonna make the most money. So a lot of that plays on, well, we can make money here. This bowl would be a better matchup as far as who's going to travel. So I don't look too far in those bowl games, especially I don't want to say the bottom tier games, but if it's not the playoffs and then the next four bowl games, everyone else is there trying to make the most money that they could possibly make. So I think we can't look too far in that. And to get to go to a bowl game is freaking amazing. And like I said, this is we hadn't been going consistently. So for the fact they get to play one more game like you talked about, and I'm gonna tell you as a player, no one likes these bowl game practices. You always talk about how it helps. I'm gonna tell you right now, as players, it sucks and we hate it.
Why does
But
it
it does
suck?
because it's cold, you're out there practicing, there's no one at school, everybody else is enjoying Christmas
That's a
break,
good point. I
hymns,
didn't even think about that. That's a
and
good
you're
point.
there by yourself, and it's the game is like, they stopped playing what last week was their last game, or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago
two
now.
weeks ago so they've been practicing for 2 weeks ago, and there's no games, and they practice Monday through Saturday. So
And they still got
um
20 days to go.
right, and then you go there and you practice a week before the game, so it does help, but it can get repetitive as a player, because there's no at the end of the week you get to settle down. It's so I think it's a lot of those things that help, but as a player, I don't think that's not making people say a bowl game is definitely making people want to come back, but as a player, you're not thinking, I'm about to get real better. I'm about to get a lot better in
Sure.
these 30 practices. You're like, man, if this game don't hurry up a gear, and they better have good gifts for us. I think for those guys, that's the best part as a player is receiving those gifts, the little extra cash. And that was back when we didn't get these NIL deals, so they probably are good with their money now. But back when we were poor, we really enjoyed those different gifts, and that's what makes it fun. For those who've never been, they take you to a lot of different functions on where you go. If you go to the San Diego Bowl, you get to go to the San Diego Zoo and do stuff that a lot of kids, a lot of my teammates and friends may have not been able to do growing up. So there's a lot to that bowl game on getting to go that week. They have a lot of festivities. I know they had a talent show when we played Michigan State, and there's some very talented dudes on both squads, and just the atmosphere is really cool. So I think overall, just getting to go for those kids is what's awesome because of the things that come with that. But as far as the bowls for me, they're gonna pick where they can make the most money. And last time we played Ole Miss in the Cotton Bowl, it's pretty packed if I recall. So I know it's gonna be a good showing and it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I think it's just and I agree. Obviously, when it comes down to it, everything is money driven. It doesn't matter. That's just the truth of it. I think it's just I guess the process needs fixing a little bit because I get it. Like nobody's naive or dumb enough to think that Oklahoma is not a bigger brand than Texas Tech. Like it's just the facts, right? Like it is what it is. Um, but I think it sets a precedent, and this happens every year, by the way.
Right.
And I've called it out. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago as well, where I was like, how is this possible? And obviously, it hits a little closer to home now, covering Texas Tech, being an alum and everything. But when you have the fourth team in your conference get passed up by this team that finished tied for seventh, like I get it. It's the brand name. I 1,000% get it. It's just not a good look when it comes down to it. Especially from the Big 12 standpoint, where it's like, I get it, there's nothing you can really do, but it also adds to it that Oklahoma's about to leave and they got that higher prestigious bowl, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously the Texas Bowl has a higher payout. You'll take that extra $300,000 if you're Texas Tech, no doubt about it. And also I think that there is you want to go see new things. You saw Adrian Fry talk about it, and you talked about it a little bit as well. Adrian Fry talked about it with Don Williams at the Avalanche Journal, where he was like, yeah, we all wanted to go to Orlando. Like, we've all been to Houston before,
Right.
like we want to go somewhere new. We want to go to Disney World. We want to experience these new things. And I think that's part of it too, where the players feel like they got cheated in a way, which obviously I guess technically could be the case, but really isn't what it is. It comes down to a numbers game. That's what it is.
Right.
It sucks, but also both things can be true at the same time. It sucks that that's the case, but it also sucks that these players didn't get what they deserved in terms of a new experience in life in a place where most of these guys probably haven't gone in Orlando before.
But as a player, that's something that they need to change as well. Is they have these bowls that are set for you know, fourth seed or fifth seed. Like they
Exactly.
need to
Yeah.
change it. Because like um in my 4 years of playing, like 3 out of my 4 were in Texas. And so
Exactly.
you don't get the experience, but it's the way that they have it set up, like the Rose Bowl. It used to be only for the Pac-12 and the whatever. Like there's no
Big
way
Ten. Yep.
unless you're in the college playoffs that you get to go play at the Rose Bowl. And that's something that as a player I would love to experience. So I think the system's messed up, and as we can see, because they try to put Alabama in there every year, but because it's a brand money thing. But I do definitely wish, as a player standpoint, that they would just say, hey, they swap it every year so that we got to go to different places. Because don't get me wrong, a Cotton Bowl was awesome, but I've been to Dallas. Alamo Bowl was
Exactly.
awesome. I've been to San Antonio, and so I wish they mix it up. But the thing I will say is that the good thing too about playing in the state, and most people don't know this, and I don't know if I should be telling, but I'm dropping some gems in here to let y'all know. But they used to let us either fly to the game or they pay us per mile. So you know, if you're going from Lubbock to San Antonio or Lubbock to Dallas, you're making a pretty good penny.
It takes a long while to get to anywhere from
Yeah,
Lubbock,
you're
man.
making a pretty good penny on top of the money that they give you for the bowl game, on top of the prizes or gifts that they're giving you too. So, I mean, there's a couple Texas games too that we walked away with some pretty nice lump sums of money.
Is that
So
there and back?
yes, it is.
All right, I'm in.
Right. You
I'm
know,
in.
so that's a plus in that thing too, is, you know, getting to travel and get that extra, you know, the extra money, because like I said, you know, when we were in college, you weren't getting NIL. So, I mean, money was tight, especially around Christmas for everybody. But um, that's one of those things, like I said, I wish that they'd fix around, you know, and make it better. And then also too, just from a player standpoint, I know it's got to be, but I wish they kind of moved those bowl games up. Because it sucks to sit in a hotel room when everyone
On
outside
Christmas.
is celebrating New Year's or Christmas. You're seeing pictures with everybody, with your family, and they're opening gifts together, and you're in a hotel. And yes, it's a blessing to get to be at that level and do that. But at the same time, I know for me growing up, Christmas is my favorite. So I was truly happy to be playing, you know, a bowl game in January. But like I said, it also sucks when you play it, you know, 2 o'clock next day, and you hear everybody having the time of their lives outside your
Yep.
hotel room, and you miss out. So that's a couple things from a player standpoint I wish they fix. I wish they rotated. So like you said, you get to do those experiences and not be in the same place. Because as a football program, you know, people got to remember we're gonna play Baylor. We're gonna play Texas. We're gonna play OU. We go to the same spots. And you know, I did track in college, and part of the reason was every year the track meets were different places. So I got to travel versus I know, you know, the last 8 games are gonna be here, 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 and you don't get to experience those stadiums. So I think that, you know, more players probably need to say that and step up. As you know, most of us, you know, we play and then we go on about our business. I think, um, you know, I'm pretty sure they don't really care what we have to say, but I think if players started giving feedback, it would make it better for those next guys, and give them an opportunity to travel. Because like I said, that's the best part, is what you get to do in those cities, and
For
each
sure.
city has something unique that you're like, dang, this is awesome. You know, when I was at West Virginia, we went to Memphis, got to go to a Grizzly game, got to go to House of Blues, got to do some really cool stuff.
Do you
And
like Beale Street?
I did.
I liked
But
it too.
we have very short leash and very short time to be out though when
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah,
They
they
have
recruited me. They recruited me to play baseball in college there. And I remember my it wasn't for like a scholarship or anything. And if it was a scholarship, it was like $1,500 a semester,
shoot, money
you
is
know.
money, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what like don't get it twisted. I was not like, getting a full ride or anything. In fact, I think it might have been like a preferred walk-on spot. Anyway, I remember going to Beale Street and I was like, man, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble if I come here.
Right?
That was my
Yeah.
first thought. I was like, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble.
Now they had it locked down though when we were there. So I mean, it was like very, like, we had police escorting us,
That's nice. That's nice
and
of you.
so it was short. I wish, you know, that's the thing about there, is there's other places um where we got a little bit more freedom, and it's fun for those guys. 'Cause like I said, you're in a place exploring, you're with your boys, you get to have fun, and that's the thing about bowl games, and you get to, you know, the first part of the week, usually you get 3 days to go party a little bit. You know, and then there's a limit. Hey, on Wednesday, you guys, no more drinking, no more, excuse me, no more hanging out. But you guys need to regain focus. And so that's the cool part. You get to go experience and meet people. You know, there's teams we played that I kicked it with. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people I got to kick with Michael Ward. And I'm like, nah, I just watched The Blind Side. And, you know, he's like, that's not true. You know, or I
Run
heard
the
it was
dang
coming out.
ball.
You know what I'm saying? And so he wasn't too happy about it. I don't know if it was false or whatever, but he didn't seem too happy. But it was just cool to get to meet those guys and
I don't know
realize.
if he got any money from that.
I heard he said it wasn't accurate.
I mean, nothing's accurate in that thing. It feels like in terms of the Hollywood stuff. But I wanted to mention this, like you mentioned the Christmas aspect of it. I think that that's one of the few or not one of the few positives, but a positive for Texas Tech, that it is in Houston, that you can spend Christmas with your family. It's much easier for them to travel to Houston, um, for them to be around you in theory. Obviously, it's going to take some money and stuff. But in theory, it's going to be much cheaper to get to Houston for a lot of these guys that are from the Lone Star State instead of asking their families to travel all the way from who knows where in Texas all the way to Orlando, right? Like, obviously, it's a better destination, but at least from that standpoint, it's a little better. I wanted to move on to Lyle because Texas Tech, they've got some guys that are coming back. Jaylon Hutchings, Tony Bradford Jr., Reggie Pearson is expected to come back. And then Taylor Demerson obviously already said he's coming back as well, Rabbit. I don't think it can go understated how big of a deal Jaylon Hutchings and Tony Bradford coming back is for Texas Tech next year. From the sheer standpoint of losing Tyree Wilson is hard enough. Like, he's going to be a top 15 pick. Shoot, I've seen him as high as number 3 in some mock drafts, right? So losing a guy like that was going to be tough. But losing your whole starting defensive line was going to be a whole nother just burden to put on this defense, right? So instead, you get 2 guys back that have 69 combined starts. Nice, by the way, between the 2 of them. And now you can kind of just fill the hole that Tyree Wilson left with multiple guys, right? Like, no one guy is going to come in and be Tyree Wilson. It's just not going to happen, right? He's a freak. It's not going to happen. But maybe Joseph Adedire is a guy that comes in here who we saw late in the year, who looked like a stud, had his first career sack against OU. Maybe it's Isaiah Crawford, the high 4-star recruit freshman. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's another couple guys on the team that we're not expecting. It seems like that happens every year where there's one guy where it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting him to do big things, and he ends up doing it. So I guess really I just wanted to bring this up because you're going to have 7 guys theoretically on the defense that are starters from this year coming back next year. And I don't think that can go understated enough in terms of what Texas Tech should do on the offensive side of the football in terms of getting better on the offensive line, at least you would hope. And some of the guys that it looks like they're going after in the portal and everything at the skill positions. So just talk to me a little bit, Lyle, about what it kind of impact you expect these guys to have in terms of maybe not themselves, right? Because we know what they are at this point. Like, they're really good players. But what they do for the surrounding, I guess, quote unquote, miscellaneous pieces of this Texas Tech defense.
Right. And I want to start off with my man asked me what culture means. That's what culture means. You got guys that could go and they want to stay. That's culture, especially in the world that we live in with all the people getting the transfer portal and moving on. For those of you who don't hear what I'm saying, that's what culture is, getting guys to stay. So like I said, I think that first off, each year it goes from your first year to your 4th year, man, the game slows down. For me, in my first year, the game was moving so fast to my 4th year where I felt like it was moving in slow motion. So first and foremost, those guys already have been successful in a sense, and they're going to continue. The game's going to continue to slow down for them even more than it already is, which makes that a destination where people want to be a part, because I think that's the biggest thing in football people forget to realize. Like Richard Sherman, lockdown corner, but I also forget he had Wagner, he had Bruce Irvin, he had a pretty good D line up front that allowed him to do that. And when he went and didn't have that D line, I don't want to say he struggled, but he wasn't as successful as locking down as he was when he had those guys. So I think the surrounding, it just shows the moving forward of the program. Hey, these guys want to stay. Some of them dudes could probably go make some money. So the fact that they're risking to stay another year says a lot, because like I said, the NFL is a deal. And I know firsthand, when they tell you it's time to go, they pack your bags and like they never call you again. So when you have an opportunity to go get that money, you got to get it. And that's what I try to explain to people. They're like, he's selfish. Nah, he's not selfish, because I saw a guy tap. We started off with 115 people on the Cowboys. And, I made it to the last cut and I seen him tap one by one by one and get rid of 30 people. So it's a game where you got to take the opportunity when you get it. And I think it's going to draw other recruits like, hey, those guys, 7 guys coming back, I want to be a part. And some guys are going to say, I want to learn from that guy. I want to learn they got this guy going top 10. They got this guy potentially the next year going first round. They're starting a trend of something that hasn't been at Texas Tech, and that's definitely defensive people getting drafted super high over and over. Like we've had some high draft picks, but usually when you think of Texas Tech, you think of offensive, and I think that's when the game changes. I think we'll always have the capability to get offensive guys. When we get a defense, I think that's in which we had this year. I think that's the difference. And I think, like I said, they already have their target on guys that they're getting that want to come here. They're just now flowing their guys in. But like I said, for your first year to have some of these guys they have, if I was them, I'd be sending Coach Wells a thank you note because I mean some of these guys are his guy or all of these guys, most of these guys are his guys, but some of them have been successful in helping them move forward and move the program forward.
Absolutely. No, I think it's fun at times to poo-poo on Matt Wells in terms of kind of what went down and everything, and a lot of the criticism is justified. But when it comes to what he left at Texas Tech from a player personnel standpoint, he left it in a pretty decent spot. Now, there were obviously some glaring holes that we all saw this year. But at the same time, like, I think that there was quite a bit of talent on this roster. Now, Joey McGuire and crew has to obviously coach that talent and get the most out of them, which I think they did for the most part. So credit to them there. But I want to switch gears. We've talked about football basically the whole time of this podcast. We'll be slowly switching it to basketball here. But before we do, I want people watching this video to comment below their one word on how they feel about Texas Tech men's basketball right now. Because at the time of this recording, it is post the Nicholls State game where that was one of the ugliest wins I can remember Texas Tech having in the non-con schedule against a team that's not in the Power Six. Remember, it is Power Six in basketball because they include the Big East. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. There's a lot of things that I'm concerned about at a pretty high level. And the biggest one is the turnovers. They're averaging 15.5 turnovers per game, had 18 against Nicholls State. Lyle, this is the most turnovers a Texas Tech team has averaged since 2011, 2012, when it was arguably the darkest days of Texas Tech men's basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad.
Live.
It was bad. It was bad, right? Like, I mean, it was just,
seat, second half, front row seats available.
Yeah, it was bad. And again, I don't think that team is that bad or anything like that. I just think they're young, but it is a problem. At what point do you say, like, hey, you can't blame it on youth anymore? This is just a offensive issue. Like, there's a time where this happens, right? Like, there's a time, as you know, Lyle, where, yeah, your classification is a freshman, but you're not really a freshman anymore, because of how many games you played, how many reps you've taken in a game. Like, yeah, technically you're classified as that, but if you're playing all the time like some of these guys are, you're damn near a sophomore by the time, the fourth, fifth game in the Big 12 rolls around. So I want to say this. I think the brightest star for Texas Tech right now is by far Pop Isaacs. He's a star. He's simply a star. I can admit when I'm wrong. I was hesitant on him. I didn't know what to expect because I know him and Devion. I wanted to see how it worked. I was skeptical of it because mostly I wanted to see how Pop reacted being off ball, right? Because he's been a primary point guard most of his career at the AAU and high school level. Hey, I was wrong. He does great at it. So does Devion, right? Like, I think they're a really good backcourt duo. Missing two guys in Fardaws, and now, in my opinion, the most important player on Texas Tech's roster, because you have nobody, and I mean nobody. I'll look into the camera one more time. Nobody that can do what this guy does. And Jaylon Tyson injured. That is the biggest, I don't want to say question mark moving forward, but it's one of those things for me, Lyle, where I'm looking at it and there's legitimately no way. I don't mean to be, just a Debbie Downer or whatever you want to call it, but there's no way Texas Tech can reach anywhere close to their potential if Jaylon Tyson isn't healthy. He's the most important player on this roster because last year you had 3 or 4 guys like Jaylon Tyson, right? Like you had the Adonis Arms of the world. You had Terrence Shannon Jr., who's balling out up at Illinois in his home state, right? You had the Kevin McCullers. You don't have any guys like that this year, right? Like you decided to go, we need to prioritize shooting, and then we'll shrink it a little bit in terms of the size and the length that you have on the roster. And Jaylon Tyson's the only guy that's proven to make an impact in big games, whether that's against Creighton, whether that's against Louisville, any of those higher level competition teams. I'm concerned at who takes his role moving forward, because that was the thing I noticed last night, Lyle. I was actually at a steakhouse last night with the fiance because it was like a work event for her. So I was that guy watching it on the phone, you know, like a real douche. But I was, I was just like, the first thing I noticed, I was like, man, this team desperately misses Jaylon Tyson. Like, just from what he can do on both ends, mostly the offensive end, because you look at what he's shooting from three, Lyle. In 20 attempts, he's made 11. He's shooting 55% from three. Pop is shooting 48.6 from three. Obviously, a few more opportunities. The next best shooter from three with over 5 attempts is Kevin O'Banner, who's shooting under 30%. Like, he's going to get better at shooting the three. I have no doubts in my mind, but there's a lot of issues that Texas Tech has to correct and fast if they want to reach their potential. But first and foremost, it's the turnovers. If you don't address that, this is going to be a long Big 12 slate. It's that simple. You just got to be realistic about it. And if that issue's not fixed, you're not going to like a lot of the results that happen this year. It's truly that simple for me.
Yeah, I think too, we lost 2 big guys, like you said, in Shannon and my man at Kansas. So
I like that. You can't say his name. I like it.
hey, but I do want to say I ain't mad at him. This man got paid. I could promise y'all I love Texas Tech with my whole heart. But if the University of Baylor called and offered me $3 million, I'll be throwing up the Baylor Bear. I'm just gonna be honest with everybody on this podcast. I'll be have my green on. I just want to say that. But I think a lot of the role is, those guys, they put so much into those guys as far as those guys being leaders. Those are 2 big leaders on the
No
team.
doubt.
And I think people got to realize, same for me. I thought I was so good in high school. And then I got up there and realized everybody was the best at their high school. So 4 stars are cool, 5 stars are cool. But once you get up to that level, the stars don't matter. And I can't stress that enough to people. So it's going to take them time to adjust. And for basketball, each week you play somebody different. Football, you get a week to prepare for that. They play 2 times a week. Sometimes they're in tournaments, they're playing 3 games. Each game you're playing somebody. And if it's a guy that's been 3 years, 4 years, there's guys that's been to so many schools that are playing. They've learned a lot. They have those nuances. That's the difference in being good and great. It's the nuances of the game. And you learn that as you go. Some people have that natural knack and is able to do that. But if not, you have to learn that. You have to experience it and you have to go through it. So I think they're kind of trying to understand their game and how it fits into what Coach Adams is trying to do. Because like I said, a lot of these dudes have been the man at their place. They do what they do at their place. And now he's asking them to come together. It's like a puzzle piece, kind of with not every piece matches. And you got to figure out a way to put that puzzle piece together. It's going to take time. And like I said, we don't have in my opinion, just a top notch cat that we could just give the ball to and make stuff happen. We got a bunch of really good players.
Pop. I think it's Pop now. Like I'm not trying to overreact, Lyle, but like, damn it, he's the only guy that could do anything. Like, he's the only guy.
But I want to put it like this, like LeBron 8 years ago can take over a game. LeBron right now is not. He's getting older. He's not able to take over game after game after game like he could back in the day. He took a horrible Cleveland team to the championship when he was younger. And I think Pop is not ready yet to kind of take over and lead like that constantly. Now, he's going to make some plays. He may be the best on Texas Tech, but I don't think he's in that role yet to where it's like, I'm going to dominate and take over to allow our team to win. I think he might get to that point. But like I said, it's one of those things as a player, you got to, am I shooting too much? Am I doing too much? Am I doing what coach is asking? Am I doing enough? Those are the things that you got to ask, because as a young player, you got to remember a lot of people criticize that, man. And as a player, we read that. We see the stuff that's being said. So a lot of players can sit here and say, nah, man, that don't affect me. It does affect you when someone's like, dang, he's shooting every time like that.
Yep.
The only person that didn't affect was Kobe Bean Bryant, but everybody else will have some kind of feeling about that and what he's trying to do. He wants to be what his team needs him to be. But what is that exactly? I don't know if he knows. I don't know. You know, Coach Adams is asking him to be something different than what he's trying to be. But it's a lot of pieces in the game of basketball, and even having your teammates agree with what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's personality ain't like Kobe's. Like I said, like Kobe don't care if you like him or if you're on board. Everyone's personality is not like that. Everyone's not built like that. So it's chemistry with your team. It takes two people on the team, like, man, you a ball hog, you know, and it messes up what they got going. So I think for him, he's just trying to figure out his role and what Coach Adams is asking him to do and what his team is expecting of him, you know?
Yeah, I think I'll say this too as we wrap up the podcast here. And you know what, Lyle? I want to get your opinion. I'm asking you live here. We didn't even talk about this. What do you say we make like a short video, like 8 to 10 minutes, with your absolute best Michael Crabtree story?
Well, I can do that.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
I might get him to tell his best, Michael Crabtree.
Hey, there we go. That would even be better. I'll say this. I think last point on Texas Tech basketball, men's basketball. As you know, Lyle, I have a lot of people in my mentions that freak out quite a bit on Twitter, which is fine. I get it. It's part of being a fan. It's cool, man. I get it. It comes with the territory that I brought on myself to a degree, right? People, y'all got to relax on Kevin O'Banner. Y'all got to relax, man. Like, he is not going to shoot 29% from three this year. I promise you this. Go look back at what he did last year at his first year at Texas Tech, and look how awful he was. Awful. I mean, even the man himself said he was bad. He was awful at shooting the three. And then look what he did from the UT game where Coach Beard returned to Lubbock to the last game of the season against Duke in the NCAA tournament. Go look at his percentage. I'll leave it at that. Because you're going to really like it. I'm not saying he's going to replicate that exactly, but there is no way on God's green earth that Kevin O'Banner will shoot less than 30% from three on the season. Zero, none. Stop it. Also, by the way, he's averaging 14 and 6. Not bad. All things considered, you know. Him and Bacho leading the way with 13 and 14 points respectively. But the big thing is now is, can Texas Tech reduce the turnovers? That's a big thing. And then also, how long will they be missing Jaylon Tyson? That's going to be big. Hopefully that boot was just precautionary, and they figured, hey, we can just leave him out for the non-con schedule and have him good to go for TCU here on New Year's Eve. But we shall see. It's definitely something to monitor. Lyle, tell the people where they can find you on social media, my guy.
Hey, y'all can find me at Coach LLEONG, and you can find my good man RC at
RCMB323. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll be giving you daily videos about bowl season. The next podcast will give a preview of the Texas Bowl. Lane Kiffin versus Joey McGuire should be fun. And then be on the lookout too. I'll be dropping a video here on the channel in the next couple of days, giving my preview for every Big 12 bowl game and my prediction and what I think you should put your money on when it comes to bets. By the way, Lyle, finished at 57% this year in Big 12 games.
That's
not too bad.
Good.
That's not too bad. Not too bad. I think I was up, I went back and checked. I was up like 4.7 units. So not too bad. Made around made about like $800 or so. So can't complain too much about it. He's Lyle. I'm RC. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech athletics all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.